welcome to the zoo.
Why am I here?
Minions of the Zoo is a lovable ragtag group of misfits that sprang up initially as a fan group to Ranting Monkey, Scribe-Light, Some Dumb American, and their joint Lords of the Night livestream show. Late night discussions in Discord quickly evolved into streams of their own, with each member bringing something new and different to the table for discussion. Led by the incomparable Reject PPC and the One-Ton Hammer, the group rotates hosts known as Zookeepers.
Hello everybody and welcome to Minions of the Zoo. I am your host for this evening, One-Ton Hammer.
I will be your zookeeper tonight, Reject.
Alright, and welcome to the zoo. I am the Lucky Pop-Tart
Inquisitor. Sanguine.
Skep Tock.
I'm Prospero.
Fat Platypus.
Chaosy.
And I'm Della Hazed.
Regular streamers, they're known as minions. And special guests are known as traveling exhibits. They're on a nightly basis, so that each show has something unique and fresh for our audience. Minions of the Zoo currently streams at 10:30 Central Standard, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo Super Sunday Show. I'm your host, Mr. Adam, and I'm thankful to be joined with JenTMaxi.
Hello.
And Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
I was wondering if I should say Sanguine or Sangru, but yeah. So, how you both doing this evening?
Jen, you first.
Overall, I'm alright. I mean, I know my country seems like we're inflamed, but I think there's hope for us in the future, to be honest. Like, I know you're gonna laugh at me for saying his name because his name is so freaking French, and I suck at speaking French, but yeah, Pierre seems to be hammering the shit out of the Trudeau liberals. And I think we're all kind of emboldened up here, so it's not so bad, to be honest. Like, I know you're gonna laugh at me for saying.
Sorry.
As for me, I'm doing rather well. I just finished making my dinner. And, oh good god, it turned out fantastic. I have a couple mangalites of pork chops that I fried up after dry brining for about 48 hours. Some mushrooms and onions that I finished in a little bit of Jameson. And then mashed potatoes that I did with some chives and garlic scapes. And oh good god, are they fantastic. So I'm very happy. I'm going to have just a very nice Two Towns Cider House Cosmic Crisp Imperial Cider with it.
Oh, sounds delicious. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
It's been a quite the week, has it not?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Things I learned about my country.
A lot of shit going on. There's the farmer rebellion currently active.
Yeah, I was actually looking at chat. You hear about Sri Lanka, and it's like, yeah, oh yeah. And
yep.
They had a nice little dip in the presidential pool over there. And again,
over there they take threats from their people rather seriously. You know, over here when we threaten you, well, you know, you maybe get a slap on the wrist, and if you're really naughty, maybe you go to jail. But I've never been alive to see that. But over there, like, yeah, you can die over there.
Mm-hmm.
As a politician, so
over here our threats are, we won't vote for you next time.
Yeah.
Over there their threats are, we'll put your head on the fucking presidential mansion's roof.
I mean, there is a good chance that Trudeau might be in legit a lot of problems because the Wii is coming back to bite him. Like, as much as he's trying to hide from the Wii, it is coming back to haunt him. And that's not to do with the World Economic Forum. Like, that stuff's going to come back to haunt him too. But the dipshit made deals with his mom in terms of money exchange, and it's one of those things where if you actually leave people a reason to come after you, legally speaking, they can. And they've done everything to hide evidence. And they've used the government to do that. So I can't help but think that that's so many violations on so many violations. But I'm not a legal expert up here in Canada. I really would love to have a Viva Fry on one day, you know, but unfortunately I'm just a little punk in Canada.
Hey, and speaking of which, I'd like to address Cannibalistic Wizard there. We weren't late. We started precisely when we meant to.
Nice.
Yeah. Now 1 second breakfast. Ow.
It's ridiculous, all the stuff that's currently going on. Like I said, you have the Farmers' Rebellion kicking off, which you guys have heard about that, right?
Oh yeah, I've been following it a lot.
I mean, I saw that the German and Italian farmers have joined the rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, turns out that when you tell a bunch of farmers, we're going to take your land, and we'll start off buying it, maybe, but we're going to take your land. Turns out the response from farmers is, fuck you and fucking have at it. Let's see if you can grow anything.
Well, it means a lot more to a lot of these people, not just because it's their land, but it's been their land for more than just centuries. Like, you think in, like, North America, like, at best, what, 400 or 500 years? In the Netherlands, anywhere in Europe, you're talking about several thousand years. And establishing yourself over and over and over again. Like, you know, going up and going down, going up and going down. So having your own land actually has a lot more meaning. It actually gives you a hell of a lot more say. Or at least it used to. Because you're a landowner. I hate to break it to you, but that shit used to count in Europe. But I've been following a lot of this stuff for multiple reasons. It's one of those things where I don't doubt that the Dutch kind of ping-ponged a little bit off the trucker movement. Like, if you want to know something a little bit interesting about our culture when it comes to us and the Dutch, and actually the Dutch have it a little bit more than we do, because, you know, Canada has the same problem with our education system as you guys do. But our relationship with the Dutch is actually really close. Like, it really, really is. It's one of those things that when you tell that to our kids, they're always blown by that. And it's simply because we saved their royalty in World War II. And we sent a lot of kids to die. Like, we sent so many people over to the Netherlands to help them that they would say stories about how it was a reign of death because we kept dropping people in. Because that was the only way you could get people in. Most people died.
I mean, it is a lot easier to drop them in as opposed to just, you know, put...
Well, we saw what happened with the boats. Like, you know, we all know what happened with the boats. You know, so, like, there was only so many ways they could get people in.
And also, you have to remember this is Canada. It took them a little bit to realize, oh, if we stick parachutes on them, they have a greater chance of surviving when we drop them.
No, actually, that made it worse, because it's like sitting ducks kind of floating to the ground when you've got people with rifles picking you off. But still, it was easier to still get people in. But it was also the first time that we were kind of free from the Brits in terms of making our own decisions. We did a lot over there. You know, everyone coast to coast in my country has family who died fighting Nazis. Legit.
Mm-hmm.
The Netherlands has never really forgotten that. Like, when I see those pictures of those farmers, a lot of them went to school trips to the places where our dead are. And they clean those graves. It's kind of a part of their culture to go and clean the graves every year. Of people that they didn't even know.
Mm-hmm.
And our prime minister calls half of us Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
As if the Dutch don't see that.
Well, look, if the farmers just accepted whatever the government said, everything would be
We'd
okay.
all be eating bugs.
Well, I mean, bugs.
Nacho flavored, ranch flavored.
Look, if you add a little lemon juice, it's okay. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it comes with parasites too, so you're getting extra buck for your bang.
I've eaten bugs before. It was a personal choice. I had the opportunity. I eat fucking most things when I'm given the chance. If someone goes, "Hey, do you want to try this food?" My normal answer is yes. Yes, I would. So I've had fried crickets, silkworms, scorpions, spiders, all kinds of ridiculous shit. They are kind of good, but you should have the ability to choose if you want to eat them. It shouldn't be, no, this is your form of protein now. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm. As if the little people are like that's what we deserve. And the rich are saying it like, yeah, they're gonna join in, as if they're gonna join in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I think this is the problem that we've had in our day and age, Sanguine, is we are too tame with our leaders. I look at the past and I used to think that those people were monsters because of the shit that they did to their leaders. But I kind of understand them a lot more now. Because our leaders really are kind of in charge of our lives to the point where their decisions can cause a lot of death.
So weird to see our leaders.
The thing that pisses me off is at some point we stopped voting how we should.
Mm-hmm.
By voting how we should, I mean, when you vote for someone, you should have, this is what I'm voting for them to do. And if they fail to do it, vote for some other fucker to do it. Because they have shown that they can't. So, it should be a shit or get off the pot. And it should also be that if a person goes forward and says, these are the 10 things that I want to do, once those 10 things are done, they should be going, yeah, I don't need to be in office anymore. Thanks for electing me. Thanks for allowing me to do this shit. You guys wanted it too, apparently. I'm off.
See, I would be okay with that with one clause. If you go in there and you've made a promise to the people to do things, and you didn't do any of that, and on top of that you used your position to do other things that were unethical, I expect the system to hold you accountable. You either don't get paid for the work, like maybe you get a deducted salary, because if all you did was show up, then I'm sorry, you get the minimum wage. And that is me being kind. And you should get fined. Because a lot of the stuff that they've been doing up here sounds exactly like what you're saying. But the problem is you vote them out, and you vote in the next person, and they play the same game because nobody actually does any of the work. So the next guy who comes along plays the same game.
Which is why I think the other thing that needs to be done, but there's absolutely no political will behind it, is rather than it being in the U.S., the Congress gets to decide how much the Congress gets paid.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of that shit. Make it so that that is on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to increase, decrease, or stay the same? I know which way I'd be voting every time for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be something that is controlled by not the Congress. The Congress shouldn't be able to decide that the Congress deserves more money. And there was a line that was said a couple years ago that should have been an absolute poison pill when it was uttered, but sadly has not been. And that was AOC saying that, well, if you want senators not to take bribes, you have to pay us more. Functionally, if you want us not to take bribes, you have to bribe us not to take bribes. Fuck you. That was an absolutely ridiculous thing for her to say. And the fact that it isn't still constantly talked about, and it isn't still being used as, see, this is the reason why this person should be voted out of office, because they said that if we want them to actually be honest, if we want them to actually do what they're supposed to do, we have to bribe them to do it. Fuck you.
See, it's not just that. It's that part of you when you wake up and you realize that the country that you're sitting in used to be called Canada, but now you're looking at it and you're wondering if you shouldn't just call it Bigger Jim Jonestown. Because that's what they've turned us into. Overworked, underpaid. We're not really getting proper food. Like, it's not like we're not getting supplies in, but things are so ridiculously expensive that, yeah, you are making poor life choices. People are cutting corners everywhere. You have a limit on what jobs you can have because the government says so. You're massively depressed. We're very heavily drugged up here, by the way, just saying. And you can't trust anybody. Or at least there's that feeling of you're not sure of who you're talking to until you know the words that you're speaking to. Because otherwise you're going to be tattled on to everybody else. And yes, they will use your family against you. Somehow, some way, they will find a way to get your family to be the ones to attack you. I'm sorry, I've looked into Jim Jones quite a bit because it was interesting. I was like, this is an interesting story. Oh my god, I'm living that life.
Yeah, the parallels are kind of scary. How would you say? Because I mean, you're in Canada. What would you say about the likes of Australia? I mean, I don't know. Even if England, or I guess Britain, however they classify themselves.
I'm not sure
I don't care because I'm American.
What to think about with Australians, because Australians are oddly goofy. Like, the thing is when they get hot-headed and they get angry, yeah, I could see them being an uprising of angry, like, experts.
Oddly
you know?
Goofy.
Yes. I mean that with kindness, because I love all our Australian friends, but when I see them doing shit, I'm always just like, what were you on that day? What opioids were you taking?
Hey, hold on. Because only it's funny because Terry is on Quippers United, I guess, right now. So
he's also my fellow minion. So like,
yeah.
He's also the most normal Australian I know, and he spends the majority of his life in his room playing games.
If anybody's watching right now, you go on to Quippers United and tell them you're getting raided by Adam's.
Half our Australian
Adam's
friends
show.
Just left. They're like, "Fuck you,
yeah.
Jen. We're normal." I'm like, "No, you guys are normal. It's not you. It's what videos I'm seeing." You know, I talk to a lot of Australians, very nice people, very normal people, but then I see them at, like, protests, regardless of what, it doesn't matter what side they're on. I'm saying they could be dressing up in furry suits, or they could be dressing up to do the trucker events, and I'm still just kind of like, you guys are crazy. You just like to party hard.
See, this is just reminding me of, I can't remember which stream it was, but ages ago there was a stream that I was watching that had Florida, Australia, or Russia. That was the game. where they would talk about some event from the local news. And everyone had to guess whether it was Florida, Australia, or Russia. Because all of it was just, what the fuck? Everyone knows Florida man, there's apparently Aussie man, and there's, of course, Russian man.
Like, in all honesty, if I were to compare craziness, because I'm not saying that Canada doesn't have its own crazy, because we do. Like, you can't have cabin fever for as much as we really do have cabin fever without being your own kind of wonky. But I think ours is more like really controlled autism. Like, I know I'm shitting on my own country right now, and Cannibalistic Wizard is sitting there going, what? But if in all honesty I were to describe my country, it's controlled autism. Because when you...
Is Cannibalistic Wizard Canuck as well?
Yeah, my understanding is he's from Ontario.
What?
There's a lot of us. We
there's
go,
a lot of us.
Yeah, we invade the U.S. all the time. We just don't tell you about it. You know, as long as we don't flag our flag everywhere, you don't know.
How do you don't even know until all of a sudden you're like, put out a chunk of wood and they're like, oh, right there, shrimp on the bobby, and you're like, oh fuck yeah, that's a Canadian. Oh wait.
I mean, the
way that you find out that a Canadian has invaded is you accidentally bump into them on the street and they say sorry, and you
wrong.
Sorry. Yes.
That's not wrong.
No.
But, like, that's kind of how it is with us. Like, for some Canadians, it's almost like a joke when we go up there to see... When we go down to visit you, it's to see how long it takes you to realize that we're Canadian. It doesn't always take that long. Some people, it ranges between, like, a couple of minutes. You know, you ask, and we'll usually just tell you.
That
it's not good to lie to
like
people.
Aliens coming down to observe.
Yeah, we do. We do, actually, because, you know, we have the most in common with you. So when we come down, it's like, yeah, well, we kind of fit in anyway, so we kind of like the invisible aliens that come down. It's just, you know, you get work, and half of us are related to you anyway. Like, a third of my cousins are from the U.S.
This is scaring the shit out of
me. Canada.
I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Vice versa.
There's going to be Canadians.
A quarter of my cousins are black. I hate to break it to you. It's the opposite way around.
Oh, Jack. There you go.
But they moved back to the U.S. because here's the thing. He's what I mean, they grew up in the U.S. anyway. Because family, but that also Jonathan is really obsessed with music. He was like, okay, well, the best places to really start a music thing is either New York or Los Angeles. So he's lived in both places. I would never go to either place anymore, though. You know, New York back in the day, yes. You know, because they had theater and things, and you know, you go visit your cousins. That's all you got to do. I see the big metal lady on you know, waving her flaming thing, and you know that I've seen New York. That's good.
Oh, don't you want to increase your knife fighting skills?
Yeah, that's why I don't want to go.
I think.
Yeah, you know, like when I thought about going, it was back when they had a better mayor and like a better everything. A better everything. Like it was still a scary place. I would have stuck with like a tour guide, so I didn't get lost. But yeah, no, I wouldn't go there. Same with Los Angeles. Like I'd go to California. I just don't think I'd go to Los Angeles.
Jen, there's a question in chat that I'd like to take a stab at, but I'd like you to confirm.
Oh, you're from Washington. I don't know. I thought you said you were from Canada. I'm sorry.
If my answer is correct on this. Do Canadian people dislike Americans? It depends on how nationalistic the Canadian is. Because Canadian nationalism has a unique anti-American bent. And I don't mean anti-American as in fuck America as a whole, but
it's more, it's a rivalry.
Yeah, the cultural identity is effectively, we're not American.
It's a rivalry because sometimes we'll invent something and then realize that the only way that we can really get it patented and on the world scale is to do it through the US. And as a Canadian, that's always kind of frustrating. And that's just how it is. We just don't have the population or the funds to always do the things that we want to do. And by default, because we do it like that, we have to share credit.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
But
To
do
be
produce
fair,
some nice comedies like
we
Trailer Park Boys, and what's the other one? The oh shit.
Whitest Kids You Know?
No, it's the one where they. Damn
The
it.
Whitest
it's
Kids
in
You
the
Know.
hall is ours too, actually.
Well, those two. I mean, there's a lot of them. Like the great Norm Macdonald, rest his soul. You know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, like we have a lot of funny people. Like I said, like Cabin Fever for a long period of time will have you cracking jokes. You know, you're a little bit kooky anyway. And you throw some booze into that and good food, and yeah, you're gonna be in jolly good times. But it's just we're a small population. We don't always have. You really look into how restricted we are up here, and you realize what a lot of our problems are, and. Yeah, you really can't do that to human beings for a long period of time. Not when we have the resources up here that we have. Like, human beings are constantly daydreaming about things that they can make or create or do. And it's not like there's not an understanding nowadays of like, yeah, if I do this, is this going to blow up an acre of trees? Maybe don't do that. But Canadians and Americans and North, like a lot of people across the planet, the need to grow is always there, and we've been restrained by our country for a very long time. Like anytime we get a chance to do something, we're just like, yeah, we're gonna do it. Like I said, country of autists.
Also, it's a country of people hell-bent on getting sugarfoot.
Mhm.
An old way of referring to diabetes.
Oh no!
Because-
Why would you say that?
Oh, because I'm bringing up the fact that they have sugar shacks.
Sugarfoot
Well,
them.
listen,
Nobody wants
we
Sugarfoot.
probably do get
Oh,
that from
sweet
the
Lord.
Brits.
Please don't.
Like if
Anybody who has a Sugarfoot.
Sanguine, have you ever looked into how many sweets originated from England?
No.
Oh yeah, they have a lot, but you guys have sugar shacks. It's a place that you go to be served exclusively maple syrup.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
well,
it's
you know.
syrup. You don't even have to have maple. It's a syrup. It's like, oh god, you know that's not good for you.
It's exclusively maple syrup. You go there, there's a trough of snow, there's a pot
Hold
of
on, isn't
reduced...
that what killed the Indian kid's horse in Neverending Story? I may be
Oh, no,
wrong.
that
Oh no,
was
a tree.
a tar
Swamp
pit.
of Sadness?
Yeah, that was the tar pit swamp.
Oh no.
But yeah, when you look at a sugar shack, it's a trough of snow, a cauldron of reducing maple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't just go, maple syrup, that's sugary enough. They went, no, there's too much water in this sugar. We need to boil some of that off.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
And then, once they get it reduced enough, you get a ladle full out of the cauldron. You pour it onto the snow so that it rapidly cools, and then you eat that.
Yep. Yeah, you usually kind of roll it onto a stick, and yeah, you eat that. I've never done it, because I'm not from Quebec, or the parts of Ontario that does that.
Wait, hold
But
on.
I've heard stories.
Yeah, sugar shacks.
Mm-hmm.
There's oh man, God forgive me, and sir forgive me, but I don't know if it's Jim or Jeff Panette, but he mentioned a beaver tail.
Mm-hmm.
Where-
Oh, yes.
is this a real thing?
So beaver tails are what we call elephant ears.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, really?
My understanding, I've never tried one, so I don't know if there's a difference with the dough, because I've had a regular funnel cake, and then I've had, like,
It is
donuts.
the exact same dough as a funnel cake. Only
Okay.
funnel cake is laid out in that knot of strings, effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
Whereas-
what funnel cake was, right? Or they just like goof it off and.
Yep, funnel cake is just a bunch of strings that are kind of fried off into this dense knot almost, which is amazing, and then covered in powdered sugar.
Like a clowned
Yeah.
pretzel.
I was kind of hoping it'd be a mixture between that and like a donut, so it'd be like something original, but no.
Well, it's the same exact
Mhm.
solution, or same exact batter for funnel cakes and elephant ears / beaver tails. But the difference is that the elephant ears or beaver tails are just done in a large disc almost.
Yeah, they're a little thick.
They
It's all
end up
like a pancake or like a waffled
like
pancake?
a pancake.
Okay.
It's like a large, oddly shaped pancake.
Oddly shaped
So-
pancake.
It ends up a little bit chewier in the center than a funnel cake, because funnel cake you get all those little crispy bits, and then you
Wait,
get
so
a
it's
little
not
bit of
it's
chew.
chewy because it's not cooked thoroughly, so you
No,
get
it
like
is
raw?
cooked thoroughly.
So
but
if this
the
was
thing
like a
is-
steak, this is something that is you'd order, beaver tail style.
No, it is
That was a
cooked thoroughly. It's
horrible
just
joke.
the nature of anything that you're frying like that. If it's a small, or if it has a large surface area to internal volume, then you end up with it being crispier and not as chewy. If it's a larger internal volume to surface area, then it ends up being a little bit chewier due to it being in that large, like, oddly shaped pancake. It has a reduced surface area when compared to an equally sized funnel cake.
So what
No,
so
the,
what makes it different? It's just one's
They
consistent.
they usually use like powdered cinnamon sugar with it.
Oh,
I wouldn't doubt that they do maple syrup. Like, there's always
well, no,
somebody who
wa-
does that, but
Elephant ears has
I
powdered
would.
sugar.
Hmm?
Elephant ears has powdered sugar.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And if I recall the joke correctly, there was like some like chocolate covering or some sort of like elephant ears
mean,
is just bare bones type of stuff, you know.
Yeah, elephant ears is a vehicle for other flavors.
So I'm gonna have to introduce you to being part European, part British, because that's actually really old school. Poor fare is fried food, because fried food is tasty and it's cheap because it requires flour and salt sometimes and water. Sometimes you add other things, but go ahead, Sanguine. You're more of a chef than I am, but you know what I'm saying. You know entirely what I'm saying. It was poor
It's
man's food.
calorically dense as well, which is one of the reasons why it became poor food. Because if you can eat something that has been breaded and fried, it is a far more efficient manner of getting a hell of a lot of calories into you.
It's the same with soft pretzels. Did you know that soft pretzels used to be way more popular because of that? Like, you would just get them handed out.
Okay, hold on. I'm split. Okay, there's a part of me who wants to finish the joke of something about elephant ears and beaver tails, and there's a difference, and I can't complete the joke. But then you toward me because it's like poor food. It's like I'm sitting here thinking about what the Romans
How
would
much they
eat.
cost nowadays.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm thinking about like what the Romans would eat at a Colosseum show. You know, like they'd eat like just bread with meat on it and then wrapped like a tortilla. You know, like it. So it's like I'm sitting there. I'm like, yeah, but the joke. What was the joke? Son of a bitch! God, you.
Well,
Damn
if
it.
you want to know the difference between an elephant ear and a beaver tail, the difference is that if you're eating an elephant ear and someone knocks it out of your hand, they
You
might
forget,
say,
but an
sorry.
elephant wouldn't.
If someone knocks a beaver tail out of your hand, they're absolutely going to say sorry.
Oh, damn it! That's a fucking Rocky and Bullwinkle joke.
Yep, exactly.
I am glad I'm recording this.
Yeah, It's always kind of fun to actually learn a little bit about your food history, Mr. Adam, because when you learn about it, you really kind of get a feel for what the rich really are
Hold
about.
on, what do you mean?
And you
my
kind
food
of get a
history?
feeling
I just
for
eat
how
liver, I
lucky.
think.
Well, no, you really get a feeling for how lucky our ancestors were that the rich were stupid as fuck, because a lot of what the rich were eating was disgusting.
Well, the
No.
thing is that when you look at cuts of meat, a lot of what used to be considered peasant cuts are now considered high-end cuts.
Yeah.
Like oxtail. Oxtail was the fucking definition of peasant food. Oh, fuck no, I'm not Canadian. Oxtail was the very definition of peasant food.
Oh,
Now,
it's
oxtail's
Canadian.
expensive as fuck.
Why would you think? Hold on. Why would you think Sanguine is? I mean,
He's
outside
nice.
I think it's just because I knew the thing about Canadian nationalism.
Well,
But that's mainly because of J.J. McCullough.
yeah,
because you have knowledge of the Canucks.
he's okay, but he's biased. He's biased.
He's not Canadian.
no,
he's
he's Serbian.
actually Quebec.
Yeah. He also doesn't know shit about Alberta. Like, every time he talks about
Whoa.
Alberta, I'm just like, listen, you really can't go with the stats out here. You really, really can't. Because a lot of people aren't honest about their real opinions about what we really think.
Mhm.
Because we're afraid, absolutely deathly afraid of being outsed for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my mom is a normie. Like, she probably lives her life believing in most of what the magazines tell her.
I said sorry the first time, and then when I was doing the Canadian, I absolutely did sorry, because
Sorry.
that is the Canadian way of saying sorry.
Hey, the first thing that pops in my head is Anchorman 2, when all the channels were fighting each other, and then there's the Canadian, and it's fucking what's his nut? Damn it! Why can't I have his name?
I'm trying to remember who it was.
Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey. Why was that
Oh, yeah.
a struggle? Wow.
Okay.
And he was the
All
head
right.
of this. He was the head of the gang, and they were like, every time they said something, I was like, sorry. It's like, damn it, yeah. It's a W. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Sanguine's Minnesotan, so he's probably, I don't know.
Well, he does hang out with quite a number of Canadians. It's not like at some point we wouldn't rub off on you a little bit.
No, see, the thing about the Canadian sorry is that it is SOAWY, not SORRY, like sorry. No, it is sorry. So it starts with sore, but then immediately goes into we. So you just drop the R off sore, and it becomes
Do I
sorry.
do that?
Say again?
I don't think I do that. I say sorry.
Yeah, how does that...
Yeah, you just said sorry.
Yeah, but I don't recall a W in there. I always kind of think I sound like I'm saying sore, like but with a E.
Yeah, but
Because-
now you're going to be saying it and not even thinking about it. You're like, wait, am I adding a W? Wait.
You aren't saying sorry, you're saying sorry. So you end up with a we at the end rather than a re at the end, which is where the W comes from.
Oh, shit. Well, is that how the Japanese say it? Sorry.
No, they sometimes mix up the R's and L's.
Sarui.
So if they fuck it up, then it'll become sorely. Effectively.
Sorori.
Yeah.
Sorori.
They'll add a U in it and they'll turn an R to
Canadian Japanese.
L.
Holy shit, we gotta find these people. And hey, before anybody gives me a fucking racist thing, I'm brown, so I at least get one.
I don't think the
play on-
Japanese would care as much. They're pretty based right now.
Yeah, they'd probably
This is
joke
just
on it too.
And to be honest,
reminding me of when I went to China the first time, and one of the tour guides that I had during that trip was clearly he was Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
He had a Chinese accent, but when he spoke English, he had a Chinese Norwegian accent because he had been taught English by a Norwegian.
Holy shit.
So it was just all kinds of fucked up listening to this man speak. You could understand it, but at the same time, it has a Swedish chef.
Yeah, and
Type.
the ultimate thing is I want to hear him say, "This is MAGA country."
Yeah, it had that up and down, almost yodeling cadence to the way that he spoke, with the Chinese accent,
Ow.
which just made it one of the strangest things to listen to. This was also the person who told us the stories about the 3 sacred pigs of China, as well as the story about the monks. I've told you guys both those stories, right?
Hold on. We probably shouldn't say anything more in this land. We
No,
don't wanna
I was
get
thinking about him
censored.
too. Because I do feel bad that their ex-prime minister, died.
China?
It's one of those things like, the Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, like,
assassinated 2 days ago.
Yeah.
well, it's with all due respect. Like, I hate this part of the left, and honestly, this part of politics, because it's probably not just the left. I don't doubt the right's doing their own form of feeding off of it. But yeah, like I got the impression he was really well liked by Japan. So I feel bad for them. Like it's always kind of sad when you've got a leader that you were okay with.
Mm-hmm.
Because those ones you do feel a loss when they're gone.
So, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Shinzo Abe was assassinated 2 nights ago, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
2 months?
Yeah.
It was like a few days ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Might be 3 days ago now, but no, it was probably 4 days ago now, because it was on Thursday, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, it was 4 nights ago now. So, he was on a campaign tour rally, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was campaigning for himself. I think he was campaigning for someone else.
Yeah.
And he was the longest-serving Japanese prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
He served 1 year back in the early 90s, and then served for damn near 10 years in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was advocating for expansion of the Japanese Defense Force, the JDF, as well as actually establishing a military, which was something that the Japanese gave up after World War II. And other countries have since mellowed on the Japan is not allowed to have a military. So, like, the US has made several comments saying, yeah, if you want to make a military, make a military.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still some resistance to that in Japan. There's a fuck ton of resistance to it in the rest of Asia.
Yeah.
But he was assassinated. The assassin used a homemade double-barrel pistol.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
it was.
Once in the neck, once in the, I want to say upper chest. I could be wrong on that. It might have been lower jaw. But he gave him both barrels of his double-barrel pistol.
Yeah.
He was alive at the time that the ambulance took him in. Unfortunately, by the time that he reached the hospital, he was pretty much already dead, and he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving, despite being given over 100 units of blood.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chinese social media started to celebrate.
Of course they did.
Korean social media had a mix of celebration and of condolences, which also makes sense for Korea, because during World War II, Korea suffered some horrendous shit at the hands of the Japanese.
Yep.
So, those two things happened. Most of the rest of the world was going, oh shit, that sucks. That sounds tragic. And then you had certain elements of various countries that were saying, well, no, fuck Shinzo Abe, which was a tad ghoulish, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Was
and
Shinzo Abe a perfect man? Absolutely not. He did resist condemning the acts of Japan during World War II, at least to the degree that many people wanted him to. He effectively went, it's the past, it happened. Was it correct? Well, you have to judge it based on the culture and beliefs of the time. Which, even if you judge it on the culture and beliefs of the time, it was pretty well fucked. But it wasn't really no, they didn't do anything wrong, but it also wasn't a condemnation, which people were not happy. So he was gone after for his softness on the Imperial Japanese war crimes. Then his pushing for returning to Japanese military was frowned upon because, well, the reason why they don't have a military is because after the peace treaty that ended World War II, the Japanese front, they signed an agreement saying that they wouldn't have a military. They would have a Japanese defense force, but they wouldn't have an offensively geared military. So everything about the Japanese defense force is purely defensive. He was advocating for an increase in the size, which also the Japanese force was capped in the peace treaties. So he was advocating for increasing the size of the JD, which people were against, and he was advocating for a Japanese military rather than just a Japanese defense force, which again, certain chunks of population, even in Japan, were going, but on the whole, Japan thought that he was a good enough prime minister that he became the longest serving Japanese prime minister.
I would also say probably the last 10 years, a lot of that might have even shifted just a little bit. And then certainly the last 5 years.
I mean, if you want to get into, maybe sometimes these elections were maybe not up and snuff 100%, we could talk about that, but I gotta go get my tinfoil hat over there, so...
Oh, I'm surprised that the thing that you want to get your tinfoil hat for isn't what the assassin ended up saying.
Ha-ha! Joke's on you, I've been wearing the tinfoil hat this whole stream.
The assassin said something that is rather...
He made a fucking gun, a two-barrel fucking shotgun, and he had a bunch of ammo. How the fuck he had ammo? Look,
two-barrel pistol, actually.
And hey, isn't it funny that all this came about and the whole time? And I gotta mention on my stream, the Georgia Guidestones, ba-boom, came a tumbling down. Boom, boom.
And I'm sitting here like, no bueno. Like, I'm sorry, but the Japanese have had internet access probably just as much, if not more than we do, based off of whatever given time. Like, it fluctuates for them too, is my understanding. But they're capable, like, not everybody in Japan, but they certainly have a large number of people who are engineers.
Oh, yeah, well, if you're to imply that the Japanese are not capable of engineering...
Oh, they're intelligent as fuck.
And, like I said, the thing that I'm surprised Adam hasn't brought up yet is the police statement about this, where the police came out and said, yep, he's admitted to assassinating the prime minister. And he claims that the reason why he assassinated the prime minister was the prime minister was a part of certain organizations.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Well,
That's the end of the quote.
well, you know, you got to pick and choose what you can talk about, especially when you're hosting. So, I mean, if you want to bring it up, you can bring it up. It's.
I mean, it could be the World Economic Forum. It could be something else. I don't know. Not everything revolves around that.
I don't think Abe was a part of the World Economic Forum,
No.
which is also why it was a what? Because it was just a due to his involvement in certain organizations. They don't say what organizations, just due to his involvement in certain organizations, which makes it go the fuck are you talking about? What? What does this mean? Please inform us what organizations they thought he was part of. It was just a very, very odd thing to quote.
Yeah, and at least they dismissed the goofy. He was gonna dismiss or release some information and shit. And it's like, yeah, okay. No, I honestly, I think it was somebody who had an issue with this guy.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone who was connected to other nations. Like I said, you have the Chinese social media that's celebrating the death. You have Korean groups that are also celebrating the death because they viewed a Japanese military as a direct threat due to the past and what the Japanese military did in the past.
Well, yeah, and even with the recent past, if I recall, Japan said that they weren't even looking at doing anything with Taiwan. So even if it was supposed to be oh shit, you know, they assassinated this dude to try and get, you know, something going on in that area. I don't think it would have done anything.
Actually entirely accurate, because when China first started gearing up and making overtures about going after Taiwan recently, and when I say recently, I mean within this current administration's reign, Japan said that they would do what they can to assist Taiwan. In response to this, Beijing said that they would nuke Japan until it was glass.
Of course they did.
And it was after the nuke Japan until it was glass that Japan went, we aren't sure exactly what we'll end up doing. Because, yeah, you don't really take a we will nuke you until glass from a somewhat unhinged country lightly.
No.
I was mistaken.
No wonder they want to build a military. Yeah. I don't blame them.
And that was when a lot of the wide discussion of should Japan expand its JDF and should Japan actually get a military. And when a lot, like I said, there has historically been resistance to that idea, even in Japan. But when that happened, a lot of that resistance started to.
I mean, in all honesty, with Biden, I wouldn't even doubt if it's even more of a push. And I'm not meaning to push everything onto him, but him being such an iffy case.
Fucking Biden. I forgot about him. That fucking weekend. Oh my god. He really
He's a mystery right now, Adam. Like, he really is. Like, whose side is he on?
Is he even alive?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he ain't a robot. He still likes his ice cream, and he still farts in front of people and possibly poops.
He's alive, just his brain is melting.
Wow.
But
He's like a Muppet.
regardless, whose side is he on? Because he ain't on your side. My guy ain't on our side. You know, I'm kind of happy for England that they got rid of Boris. Have no idea who they're going to replace him with, though. I'm
Yeah,
bad.
I would wait to see who ends up taking over in his stead before I would.
Well, how long is
You know,
he?
because worse.
He's still there for interim, right?
I think so.
He is stated that he's stepping down. He's still in the process of stepping down, I believe.
And until they find somebody else to replace him, he's still kind of.
Yeah, that's usually kind of how it goes. But it wasn't just him who stepped down.
No,
it was
it was
everybody
a
else.
lot. There's a lot of people.
Well, it was a lot of people stepped down, which is what kind of forced him to step down. Because the shit that came out about one of his major supporters that he had elevated to positions made a lot of people go, yeah, I was support, but this, holy fuck. And yeah, I'm out. I can't agree with this. So those people might end up coming back depending on who replaces Boris, but they stepped down due to an inability to continue their roles. Because it turns out that one of the people that he placed at rather high power has rather credible accusations against them. And when I say rather credible accusation, I mean start thinking Me Too.
Oh no. Wait. Oh no.
I'm kind of not surprised. Like, I'm not saying this to throw shade at the Brits, and I'm not saying this to throw out conspiracy theories, but you know, the bad touching of authority figures. Prince Adam, or not Adam, sorry, Prince Andrew. Sorry, I didn't mean to say your name. I was thinking Andrew, but you know, you're here, so my brain.
No, she was thinking that He-Man had been accused of.
That'd be funny. No, I was thinking Prince and Andrew. I even had his face, and it's not pleasant.
Well,
but
we
yeah,
don't know. She had his face on He-Man's body. It was a very weird mental image.
it really
She
was.
is going to be seeking some.
Let's be
Some
clear.
help.
I haven't
Yeah.
touched anybody irrationally. Please.
No, you're good. I was talking about the British guy. You know, the one who was on Epstein's island and that whole list of people that we're never gonna see.
Oh, we'll see it. Mark my words, we'll see it.
Oh, there was also the story recently about apparently.
Fortune?
God damn it! Why am I blanking on the woman's name?
Who?
Epstein's.
Giselle Maxwell?
Yes, Maxwell.
I probably am butchering her name too. I don't care though. She did nasty things to kids. Fuck you, bitch.
It came out recently that she's been put on suicide watch.
And I mean, I don't doubt that they do that anyway, because my understanding is your system does kind of do that anyway. But I don't think that's why she's depressed. I think if anything, she's depressed because she knows her life is a ticking time bomb for when it's going to happen.
And no, if we're talking about putting someone under close supervision, suicide watch is not the normal way that you go about it. If you're worried about someone's life being in danger, you put them on ADSEG, administrative segregation, which means that they go to SEG, they just stay in SEG. Under ADSEG, they stay in SEG for longer than someone can be sentenced to segregation, because they're not there to be kept under observation. So, for instance, a standard cell hole has every hour you have at least one round. In a seg hole, like at the prison that I worked in, it was every 30 minutes you'd have at least one round. And a round is when the officers actually go around, take a peek to see how the offenders are doing.
Ooh, our stream is stuttering.
Yeah, we had some,
Hiccups.
yeah. It's all good.
Okay. Yep, yep, yep.
But yeah, that's the difference between ADSEG and Gen Pop. As told to you by someone who worked as a security CO.
Well, that's why I was so absorbed into what you were saying. I was like, oh shit, there was something going on with the stream.
Yep.
Because I'm like, yeah, this is actually important stuff. I don't know the difference, you know, this is good to get educated on it. Because I know that there's a difference. But our
you also have COS, as well as there's another term and I'm blanking on it. So effectively you have a suicide watch.
Mhm.
One where then you're on a cell that has a camera within the cell, a camera right outside the cell, a camera that goes down the entire hall of that wing, as well as several other things, including an intercom. And if you're on suicide watch, then you're just given a gown, and it's a very specific type of gown that can't be torn into strips. You're in an area that has absolutely nothing that you can tie off anything onto. And it is effectively the barest of bare bones cells. And at times, you can even have water turned off at certain times of day when you're on that, because they're worried that you'll try to drown yourself in the sink or toilet. So there's a bunch of restrictions on that, and that every 15 minutes a observation is made on what you're doing. Every 30 minutes at least one round is performed where someone comes by, takes a peek on you, gets eyes on you directly, not through a camera, eyes on you directly, and everything like that. Then you have another status, which is when you're fresh back to SEG. Pretty much everyone comes back on this one status where, again, they're put in observation. Oh, that's what it is. It's just OBS. So you have COS and you have OBS. And OBS, you go back in. You aren't given the special suicide gown, but you are still looked at every 15 minutes through the camera feed, because there's a camera in your cell. And whatever observations are made are recorded every 15 minutes. Again, every 30 minutes, there's at least one round that comes through your portion of the cell block. And again, there's the camera in the cell, the camera inside the cell, the camera goes down the hall of that cell block, all that good shit. So there's a bunch of different things that when people refer to someone going to segregation, it can mean. It can mean that they're on ADSEG, it can mean that they're on standard SEG, it can mean that they're on OBS, it can mean that they're on US, it can mean like 4 or 5 other things. And each of those has a very specific and a difference in how that offender's treated while they're in. So if they were worried that other people were a danger, then they would put them on ads. And when it comes to seg, there's like triple protection from everything, because every cell in a seg hall has to be independently opened. So in order for someone to accidentally open 2 cells, they would have to go through the process to open 1 cell, and then go through the process to open second cell. Also, most of the time when someone's in seg, their cell doors are isolated. So really, rather than it just be you have to go through the process to open 1 cell, you go through the process to open another cell, you have to go through the process to unisolate both cells, go through the process to open each cell. So it's rather difficult for anything like that to happen. And also, all the locks default to shut. So if a power outage occurs, the locks stay engaged. And if a lock wasn't engaged, and then there's a power outage, that lock immediately ends. Then there's also the manual keys that can be used. And the manual keys can only be used after a cell door has been unisolated. Because if a cell door is still isolated, doesn't matter if you stick a key in it, the key does not function until the cell is unisolated, then the key will function. This is, yep, Sanguine worked. Corrections at max security.
Yep, it's big business. That's no laughing matter. But on the other hand, if she dies, let's just be real. She was happy. Naughty, naughty, Hillary. I know your husband went to places that you don't want to talk about, that you don't really care about, because you were probably there too.
Yeah, it was infuriating when I heard about the Epstein incident, because I'm going, no. And there's no way that the person would maintain their job if even half this shit was true. Because at the prison that I worked at, you had the cell hall cameras, which if a cell hall camera went down, it was immediately recorded, and there were emergency response techs for that, where if a camera went down entirely, someone would be coming to work on it.
Yeah, but what happens if somebody came up to these guards and said, "Hey, here's a couple of bucks. Let's go and have yourself a Panera Bread," type of thing. Oh, and let's just be clear, we're not... Minions of the Zoo is not endorsing Panera Bread in any sort of way to the Epstein murder, or not murder, but suicide by bedsheets. Let's just be clear.
And I would like to say what would happen is...
Fucking shit.
Fuck you, I'm not going to stop doing my job, because if I had been approached, that would be my role. And if pretty much everyone that I worked with was approached, I am willing to bet money that their response would be, fuck you, this is my job. I'm doing my goddamn job.
Oh, you'd hope.
But all I can assume, given what I know of how prisons work and the incidents surrounding what happened, is that that was not the case in this instance. So, like I said, hearing about all of that shit and hearing about everything that they're going, oh yeah, the officers just happened to fall asleep, and the officers just happened to not go on rounds during this like 2-3 hour window, and the officers just happened to have all the cameras fail in that section cell block and in the sections leading to that cell block from the outside of the prison, and this just happened, and this just happened, and this just. I was going, no, horse shit. I worked corrections. Horse shit. Because I know how my facility would have happened. And unless the federal facility had absolutely none of the safeguards that the state facility that I worked at had in spades, despite being one of the oldest prisons in the fucking nation. Bullshit.
Dude, do you think it was haunted?
That facility or the facility that I worked at?
Well, either. Well, the one that you worked at. Well, let's start with that. Do you think it was haunted? Hold on.
I don't really...
Hold on. Jen, you still there?
I am still here. I was just watching you play. It was fantastic, and I was listening to Sanguine. Hey, you got a strike. It was good.
Got a spare. Wish I got a strike.
Yeah.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, and sometimes I don't. Like, when you take into account weird shit like how long ghosts have been recorded in history, yeah, it makes me wonder. But then at the same time, I also remember the fact that, yeah, people didn't always know when they had mold on their bread. So...
That is true.
And ergot poisoning's a thing.
They eat the mold on the cheese, I guess, right?
Right? I'm not saying that
is a bread mold that, or a fungus that can spread through grains that can cause you to hallucinate.
Yeah, it's kind of like isn't that like it's pre LSD is what it is.
It is a highly psychoactive.
But all the same, I do know that I've had moments in my life where I had weird feelings, and I don't know if it was my mind playing psychological games or you know, or I would just know things backwards. Like, Sanguine, have you ever heard of the place called Crow's Nest Passing? Had a mountain collapse on it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, in my province, there's a town called Crow's Nest Passing, and half the town got demolished by a mountain. Like, the mountain just was like, you know what, I can't hold up anymore, and it all over the half the town. And so I knew about this place, but for some reason it just didn't register in my brain that we'd been driving through it for years. You know, it was just always driving through this area where there were just big boulders everywhere, and it was creepy. Like, I just never thought, this is the last place in my province that I'm ever going to go camping. Ever. Mm-hmm. And then it was just one day my dad was like, well, you know that's where Crow's Nest Passing is. And then he was like, that's where the mountain collapsed. I was like, oh, right, duh. Because I thought it was further north, not heading towards the border. I do that sometimes. My brain does backwards sometimes. But yeah, I can't explain why I would never want to camp there up until that point. Because yeah, even if I got it backwards, I still didn't know that was the place, you know? Mm-hmm. Like Pompeii, there's other reasons why I wouldn't want to camp there, and you know, the volcano's kind of one of them, but yeah, I get the feeling if I walked around Pompeii, I would get the creeped out feeling.
Yeah,
Hey, speaking of camping, did you guys see that video of it's a really hot video going around of a really good way to build a tent using saran wrap, and you just take these tubes of saran wrap.
Where there were a couple different things that I thought of when I saw that. First off, that is littering with a lot of additional steps. And the other major thing that I thought was man, that thing would roast like an absolute son of a bitch. You just made a floating greenhouse.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, the sweat. Yeah, I was thinking that too. The sweat from it.
But to go back to your previous question of, do I believe in ghosts, and was the prison that I worked at haunted? I don't really believe in ghosts. I am open to the idea that there could be shit that I don't know when it comes to things like that, because I have had a couple of experiences that I'm going, okay, I don't know what the fuck this was about. Like I've told you guys about Taniyama, I think, and that was a very weird experience. And I had the one experience when I was walking around while I was living in Pennsylvania that was very fucking strange. And then I had one experience that was fairly strange while I was at the prison. Because there's something called industry checks, because the prison that I worked at was an industrial prison. It was a prison where the inmates could apply to jobs and then get the jobs and work the job. This was not the inmates were forced to do the jobs. They could apply to and then get the jobs. Just like you can apply to get a job, and you can get a job and then work the job. So I was doing industry checks with another officer. This one was a sergeant. And industry checks, you're going around making sure that no one is still out at industry, because we're doing these tonight, making sure that all the doors that should be locked are locked, making sure that no one's squirreled away any contraband or hidden any tools in places that they shouldn't be, turning off various things, like there's a shit ton of coffee makers around. So you turn off all the coffee makers, make sure that they aren't allowed to dry boil and cause issues. And also you flip off fans and shit like that. So going through the industry checks, and this other officer and I go into one section of industry, and we turn off everything that we are able to find while we're in this section. And the particular building that we were in, that one room that we started in, we also finish in. So we go through that room, we turn off everything, then we go through the rest of the building, and then when we come back out of that building, we have to pass through that same room. So we go in, we turn off everything that we see. We turn off fans, we turn off coffee pots, shit like that. Do all of our checks, everything checks out. We continue on and do the rest of the building. As we're coming back through, as we're walking towards that room, we're hearing an old fucking song. I'm talking 1920s. We're both looking at each other like, what the fuck is this? We go back into that room, and everything we turned off is still off, but that singing's now louder. We start kind of following the voice around to see if we can figure out where the fuck it's coming from. And in a back corner of this room, which again, we had turned everything off of this room already. So if this thing was going before, we would have heard it when the room was completely silent the first time that we went. But we go to the back corner, and there's one section that kind of has crap piled up in front of it, so we move the crap to the side because we hear the singing coming from behind that, and we find this fucking ancient radio that is apparently on. It wasn't making a sound the first time that we came through, but now it has this old 1920s song playing. My coworker finds the plug for it, he unplugs it, and you know how you end up with one of two things happening when you unplug a radio? Either it has a capacitor, and you can kind of hear the capacitor discharge as whatever was playing sharply trails off.
Mm-hmm.
Or you unplug it and it immediately dies.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the only two options that you have for what the fuck happens when you unplug a radio. Yeah, we unplugged the radio. It continued singing at the exact same volume until the end of the song.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's like what battery backup did that thing have to manage that?
Yeah, and like I said, this was a fucking ancient radio. It had no batteries.
Yeah,
Yeah, fuck that.
like if it had been like something really silly like a xylophone, I'd be like, yeah, I could see that happening. But those were wind up.
Yeah, it was an old radio that was plugged in. We unplugged it. It continued singing at the exact same volume, continued playing at the exact same volume until that song ended, and then it just snapped off.
For the record, I've never seen a real one of those. I only ever saw the toy one. And I think that was from the 70s. So, like, that was...
Yeah, I don't even
somebody
know if
bought
makes
that.
it any better. You know, if it's like a toy where you can have it in your house and you're like, oh shit.
They were neat. I mean, the toy ones you could play regular discs with the toy ones. So that was neat enough as it was. Because a lot of people back then collecting discs was kind of like collecting CDs. You know, some people still do that now because, you know, they're going to go out pretty soon.
But yeah, it was just a what the fuck.
Mhm.
My coworker and I both looked at each other. We decided to get the fuck out of there, so we got the fuck out. And there were other stories floating around the prison from other officers and other sergeants that were interesting. There was one sergeant who swore that every time they went into one section of the prison, he kept on seeing these red eyes. And he was freaked out, refused to go anywhere near that section of the prison. There was other stories that came out from various people. Other weird things, like there was a shower in one section that in the middle of the night would turn on, run for a period of time, turn off.
Dude.
No one would be around it.
We gotta, for, maybe for
Halloween?
For October, we have the whole month. We like just starting now. We just start building up these stories that we can share, and we go on October, all through the month, and just go and share some fucking spooky stories and stuff. That'd be awesome. I think it'd be it'd be nice to have.
Do an exchange of spooky stories that we know.
Yeah, well,
that's always fun.
I mean, not tonight because I want to go to sleep. Come on now, Jen. Let's speak clear here. I wanna.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I, you know what? I don't have anything on me right now anyway, so you're good. You're good. I mean, the last spooky story I heard was there was this one time that Cryptic sent a durian fruit that went bad to Squishy, and somehow he managed to live, and I don't know how.
Yo.
I don't know that that's a ghost story, but it's really old, so it might as well be a ghost story.
Well, it's old enough to be a ghost. There you go.
Is that a dad joke? I think that was a dad joke.
It's not a dad joke, damn it.
In honor of Satsu's baby, whose birthday is what, next month?
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, happy birthday.
Yeah. I think he did something for her a while ago, and I always miss his stuff now. It's one of those things that our Lords of the Night don't really understand is the Jen has morning shifts now, so I'm usually up, and then I don't get home until after they're done everything. So every time Satsu does something, I legit have missed it. I'm so sad. And then afterwards, he's like, "You're never around for my streams." I'm like, "Well, that's because you do your streams at times when I'm not around." Go back to Lords of the Night times. I mean, that conflates with our time, but you know.
Well,
Yep.
you know, just timing is everything. So
Well, he's got the end of his schooling to do, and my understanding is he's doing really well, and I support that because if the guy can get his own business up and going, I think that's the best route. You know, let some people focus on fighting what's going on because, you know, that's going to happen too. But I would focus on real life because if everybody just focuses on one thing, everyone's screwed. I said this before on Blind Girl's stream that, like, you know, even during war times, people still focus on real life stuff. Because if they didn't, when everybody comes home, everyone would be screwed.
they'd probably lose their
And
mind.
if everyone focuses on in life, everything improves for everyone, which is kind of the central point behind how capitalism has resulted in all the fucking amazing things that capitalism has resulted in. Because turns out, when you do something that benefits you, and when, in order to do the thing that benefits you, you end up doing things that benefit other people, everyone is in a better place. And when you're talking about becoming a wealthy person under a open capitalist system, the only way that you become wealthy is by helping other people and giving other people what they want as well. Because this is something that people have a hard time understanding. Every freely entered into trade, both people are getting the better end of the deal. This makes no sense to a lot. But the thing that you have to bear in mind is that value is entirely subjective and it is entirely situationally dependent. Because if you and I are both sitting in our homes and I say, hey, you have a diamond, I'll trade you a bottle of water for that diamond. You're probably going to tell me to get bent. If you're on a desert island and you're desperately thirsty and you have a chest full of diamonds, and I come over to you and I go, hey, I'll give you a jug of water for one of those diamonds, you'll probably go, give me that fucking jug of water. Here's the diamond. Fuck it. Give me the jug of water. Because at that point, the jug of water is worth more to you than the diamond. Everything is situational when it comes to value. Everything is subjective when it comes to value. And that's especially true when you look at food and water. Because if you don't have enough food, if you don't have enough water, there is nothing more valuable in the fucking world to you than getting enough food and enough water. Once you have enough, yeah, their value plummets after you reach enough. When you have enough water and someone comes up to you and says, I'll offer you another glass of water, you're going, why the fuck would I need another glass of water? I have enough water. I'm getting all the water that I need. No, I'm not going to trade anything for that extra glass of water. Fuck you. But if you don't have enough, you will trade goddamn for that glass of water.
It's also going back to my other comment before about how Canada feels like Jim Jonestown, but in Betamax. But it is kind of stuff like that. Like, they are going to be attacking our farms up here too. They've already kind of stated that they would because of more carbon tax related garbage.
Yep.
And they've been doing that for a long time. And it's not too different for you guys. They've been going after your farms too. We are actually going to be on a food shortage.
Well,
the only thing...
the difference is with ours is there's Bill Gates and Chinese firms buying all of our land, and then the other places they're just setting it on fire and nobody's giving a shit. So I guess, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a difference.
This also reminds me of, remember when everyone was getting really pissed off at, I think it was Brazil, for the damage that they're doing to the Amazon?
Yep, it was Brazil.
Do you guys know what the deal was before Brazil started to do damage to the versus when they started, or when everyone started freaking out about, look at all the damage that they're... I phrased that somewhat weirdly, so I'll just tell you guys. When you look at before Brazil started reinstituting some slash and burn, a bunch of countries around the world were giving Brazil money not to do that. Then about a third of the countries that had signed up saying, yeah, we'll pay Brazil not to expand their agricultural land, withdrew their funding for that. So Brazil, which was no longer getting money to not expand its farmland, went, well, we could use some more farmland. Started to expand, and everyone started going, oh my god, do you see? They're slashing and burning the Amazon. They're getting rid of this. Whatever could we do? Why are they being so evil? And I'm going, well, paying them not to. And then you stopped paying them. So they decided, well, if we aren't getting paid not to, why the fuck aren't we?
Yeah.
When you pay people not to do something, and then you stop paying them not to do it, they're probably going to do it.
Yeah, it's almost like they have to feed their families or something.
Yeah.
It's almost like Tommy's come first.
Yep.
They really, like I said before, like I think on a global scale, a lot of the decisions they've been making, and it's not just this year. I'm sorry, even with Trump, I think they were doing it even with Trump, and I'm not saying it was.
Whoa.
I'm not saying it's because of Trump.
I don't think you're allowed to say his name.
Okay,
Are we allowed to say his name?
I don't know. Okay,
as long as you aren't
Mr. T.
Mr.
The other Mr. T. The other Mr. T. He's the other Mr. T. Anyway,
the more blinged out Mr. T.
The more blinged out Mr. T. So when the more blinged out Mr. T was in charge, these people were still working. Before him, when it was Obama, these people were still working. They've been doing this for a really long time. You know, I think we are probably one of the end projects. Yeah. I'm not saying we are, but we are going to be one of the end projects, because if we don't figure this out and stop it, the next one's going to be the one that cuts us down.
Well, how long do you think till we see people trudging into Trudeau's presidential palisade and take a dip in his pool?
He's got far too many people who are going to defend him with the big guns. So I don't think that's going to be how that happens.
That is true.
I have no idea what's going to happen. As far as I'm aware, the only thing I can think of is our guys are absolutely going to take... We are going to see what's going on in the Netherlands, and I can see our guys replicating it. At this point, the only reason they haven't done it so far is because Canada really does have a time limit on how long we have to plant. So my understanding from things that I've read is people are like planting en masse as quickly as they can so they can set up for this thing. Yeah. Because what he's going to do is going to gut us. And we're already kind of like, we're not really on a food shortage, but things are really expensive. You know, so when things are that expensive, yeah, you cut back on your budget. You're not eating as much food. You know, half the time you're eating junk food because that's cheaper. The price of produce up here, yeah, that's gone up too.
But it's only a domino effect, and that's why I say, like, as it's going on in Europe, I think that's the first big pull, and then we're gonna see it out here. in Canada and North America,
Mhm.
South America too. You know, we're all gonna see it.
Yeah, the people who were farmsteading, they're not wrong. I kind of suspected they weren't. Just in all honesty, though, there's not a lot we could really do up here, cause like it's so expensive. You know, I'm gonna be okay. Like I said, my family's doing all right. My parents aren't dumb. And in all honesty, my mom cooks like a farmsteader anyway, cause she's old.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Jen,
she's
I
stocked
think
up
we
for the
can
military.
set up a fund for you, and you'll be taken care of with all the Sims out there.
Nah, I'm gonna stick it out and try to fight because, in all honesty, what I see from the Dutch really does inspire me. And I'm saying this as somebody who yeah, my grandfather lost his brother in World War II. I do take offense to the fact that my prime minister calls me a Nazi. Yes, I am a conservative, but half the time I'm a conservative is mostly because it's nice to say no to him.
Hey, yeah.
That alone makes me a conservative. I won't vote for Jagmeet Singh, though, because Jagmeet Singh is basically his second boyfriend. Sorry, Susan.
Ooh.
Well, they're both supposed to be married, so, you know, it's hush-hush. I'm kidding. Jag is a Sikh, and he's an honorable Sikh. He would never have an affair with his wife. He's got a beautiful daughter. And I'm not throwing shade at his daughter. His
I
daughter's
like how you ended up phrasing that. I know what you meant to phrase it as, but you phrased it in the funniest way, because you said that he would never have an affair with his wife, as if sleeping with his wife would be the affair, rather than sleeping with someone else would be the affair.
I don't know. There were times in the past where they would be at gay pride parade, and it wasn't necessarily Jag making the looks, but, you know, it could just be that my prime minister is just so super gay that he gives everybody the loving look. But yeah, the look he was giving Jag was very weird, and it gave me that weird gaydar that some women think they have. And I was like, oh good God, there's gonna be fan fiction written about the two of you, and it's gonna be from your own fan base, and it's gonna be gross as shit. And someday I'm gonna find it, and I don't know, maybe I'll give it to Scribe to read.
Nice.
I mean, Scribe won't understand any bit of it because, you know, he came by to my stream the other day. It was fantastic. He visited a blind girl and myself, and you know, I hope I didn't talk his ear off with too much Canada stuff because, yeah, we're learning really quickly about our politics and how badly we failed up here. Like, I watched a video that made me cry earlier, and technically he was an American vet, but it really...
Oh, the World War II vet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Cause I said the same stuff, and I've never met my Uncle John. You know? And I was saying the same thing.
Yep, and I just noticed the time. I'm going to have to head out here.
Oh, no!
But to
Yeah, I think
quickly
we're
let people know about the World War II vet. It was a World War II vet. He served in the Marine Corps, and it was in an interview. He was asked what he thought of the U.S. currently, and he just completely broke down in tears, saying that this was not what his friends fought and died for. This wasn't what his generation fought and died for. He's seeing everything that he thought that they were fighting against popping up in the United States now. He sees the dictatorial way that things were done in other countries when he was serving being put in place here. He sees the pitting everyone against everyone else being done here, and it breaks his heart because that's not what they fought for. That's not what they thought would happen. And now everyone that he knew has died. And he's 100-something years old and he's still alive, and he's forced to see this. It was absolutely
I think I know
heartbreaking.
the video you're talking about. Marine Sergeant, if I
Yep.
recall correctly. Yeah, no, that was.
And that's why I can't leave. You know, I don't think my parents really understand the gravity of the situation. My brother's not in any shape too, so I support him doing what he's doing right now, which is recovering from shit that happened to him. But I'm paying attention to everything I can and showing support where I can. You know, I'm still keeping my job because, you know, people need to be able to fund themselves and I barely can. But I spread the news as best as I can. I try to share stuff. I'm trying to show support to the Dutch as best as I can, but I don't understand the Dutch. The only Dutchman I know is Ad Verdiezen, and he was the MGTOW of MGTOWs. He's the godfather of MGTOWs. He's super MGTOW. We used to send people into the gulag, and he was the guy they talked to. He was fantastic.
Okay, well, okay. In terms of closing it out, especially because Sangs, you said you were done.
I'm gonna have to do
Yeah.
And we have gone over an hour. And
It was so fun. I enjoyed that a lot.
Jen,
I always miss these, so...
I love that you can carry a conversation over the line. I love that about you. I will say, though, that in terms of news, apparently there was a time capsule underneath the Georgia Stones that was just demolished. And when they looked at it, it was just like the fucking... what's his nut? The guy with the mustache. And
No, I just want to say
Al
Snidely
Capone's-
Whiplash. No, it's not Snidely Whiplash.
No. It's Al Capone's fucking time capsule or something. It was a nothing burger. Like, there was like 4 things in it. It was like an album, like it was an album, a comb, and like some bullshit, and then a bunch of quaaludes. So that's here and there. But you know what? I want to say, as goofy as all of this bullshit that's going on right now, all I can say is the best thing we can do is try and keep an uplifting and positive outlook on things, for not only for ourselves but for the people around you. Don't look at trying to be positive for yourself. You want to be able to shine it and see people reflected from you. Yeah, we are at the
I
end
have
of the
some
show.
positive news. I mean, my city's in the middle of a festival for the next, like, 10 days, so...
Wait, what festival?
I mean, no masks, no mandates, and we're gonna get drunk for the next 12 days. Fuck you, Trudeau.
There you go.
Dressed up as cow people, so it'll be great. Yeah.
Well, Jen, be safe out there.
Of course.
Don't get in too much trouble, right?
Of course not.
Did either of you want to have some parting words?
I'll give Jen the first crack, and if she doesn't, then I'll toss mine in.
I'll take the opening, and I'll make it quick. So I do Minions on Wednesdays with Hammer and Terry Diamantis, and we start at 7, and well, that's 7 my time, or 9 o'clock if you're Eastern, and you should come and check it out, and you should check out the other Minions too, like these guys, and you can go now.
Okay, I'll just say I'm on Fridays, and then I'll leave off with my standard of, if you're passionate about something, make sure that you don't like, and then toss it over to Adam.
Hold on, dude. You kind of broke up on there, so if you want to give it another shot, go ahead.
I'll leave off with my standard of, if you're passionate about something, don't let it devour you. After that, I'll toss it over to Adam.
damn it. Give it one more shot because I don't know why
It cuts you out for the first part of it, and then it's fine for the other half. It's funny.
doesn't want you to say it. Okay, hold on. Let's give me 5 seconds of silence, and then we'll give Sanguine the go ahead. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, 5 seconds.
If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you. And that, I'll toss it over to Adam.
Fuck yeah!
Yeah, it worked.
I think we caught it. So
I would just like to point out, I think I said the exact same words in the exact same way every fucking time.
yeah, I don't know. Look, and you know what's funny is we may just be hearing it broken up on our own ends, and it's coming in clearly every time.
We're being haunted by minions from the past, and I don't know which minion from the past, but we're being haunted by minions.
I think, you know what? I think it's because Sanguine was talking about haunted prison cells and all that shit. And so they were like, you know what, motherfucker? you think we're a joke? And they messed with us. But you know what? I am thankful that the both of you had been able to join me for this Sunday, Super Sunday show. I want to thank you both, and I want to say I love you and God bless. And I think the zoo is closed.
Have a good night, all.
Yeah! Because, it's stampede time.
Wait, let me do this. Minions of the Zoo was recorded live on tape in front of a live studio audience.